What if I told you that the reason you're restless is because you're ready? Not broken, not lost, not lazy, but ready. Ready for the next dimension of your life. Ready to stop surviving and start creating. Ready to stop pleasing and start walking in your authority. That internal frustration you've been feeling, that ache in your chest, it's not depression, it's activation. You've outgrown the container you were placed in, and like a plant that's been kept in a small pot for too long, your roots are now pressing against the walls. That pressure? That discomfort? It's divine. God's way of saying, you were never meant to stay here. Think of the caterpillar. When it's in the cocoon, everything falls apart. Literally, its body dissolves into liquid before being remade into something new. It doesn't just grow wings, it becomes wings. And you're in your cocoon season. Things are melting, familiar shapes are vanishing, old identities are disintegrating, but don't panic, don't run, don't try to go back. You're not dying, you're becoming. So breathe, be still, let the cocoon do its work. The system we've been taught is upside down. We've been told to grind harder when we're empty, to chase validation instead of vision, to treat burnout like a badge of honor. But God's kingdom flips that logic. In the world's eyes, the strongest is the loudest. In God's eyes, the strongest is the most surrendered. The world says climb higher, God says go deeper. The world says be impressive, God says be obedient. You see the difference? You're not just leaving a job or career, you're unlearning an entire mindset that was never made for you. A mindset of scarcity, a mindset of slavery, a mindset that says you must earn, rest, love, worthiness. God says you already are worthy because he made you so. Here's where it gets real. This path you're being called to, it will look foolish to most people. They won't get it. They'll say you're being unrealistic, irresponsible, immature. Let them. Their confusion is not your confirmation. Your conviction doesn't need their agreement. You have to be okay with being misunderstood, because every prophet was, every pioneer was, every revolutionary was. You're not walking the narrow path because it's popular. You're walking it because it's yours. The truth is, if God gave you a blueprint that looked like everyone else's, you wouldn't need faith. You just follow the map. But he didn't call you to copy someone's map. He called you to walk by faith, not by sight. That means the next step won't always make sense, but it will make purpose. Sometimes the next door won't even appear until you take the step toward it. It's like walking through fog. You don't see what's ahead until you move. So stop waiting for certainty. Start moving with trust. Some of you have been praying for confirmation, but God already gave it. That burden on your heart, that dream that won't die, that restlessness you can't shake, that is confirmation. You're not crazy. You're chosen. You're not lost. You're being led. You're not unqualified. You're being set apart. Let me tell you a secret the world doesn't want you to know. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to wake up one day and realize that what once fit now feels foreign, that what once felt like purpose now feels like prison. That doesn't make you flaky. It makes you alive. People will try to trap you in your past. Don't let them. You don't owe anyone the old version of you. You are not responsible for staying who you were just because it makes others comfortable. You're responsible for growing into who God called you to be, even if they don't recognize you anymore. You weren't meant to blend in, you were meant to disrupt. That's why you've always felt different. Why the normal path made you itch. Why you couldn't fake it anymore. That discomfort you felt at work, in relationships, in rooms where your soul had to shrink just to survive. It wasn't weakness. It was your spirit refusing to stay small. And now that spirit is rising. Not to rebel, but to rebuild. Let's talk about identity. The world told you, you are what you do. But God says, you are mine. That's it. That's the foundation. Before you create anything, succeed at anything, build anything, you are already enough because you are already loved. And from that place of love, you create. You lead, you serve, you show up with power, not to prove anything, but to pour out what God has already poured into you. You don't hustle for identity, you flow from it. The chosen walk differently. They don't chase trends, they set them. They don't beg for platforms, they build altars. They don't measure success by applause, they measure it by obedience. And most importantly, they don't fear the unknown. because they know who goes before them. If God called you out of the system, out of the job, out of the patterns, he didn't call you into nothing. He's calling you into alignment. And alignment is better than assignment. Because when you're in alignment, the assignment finds you. So here's the invitation. Stop asking, what do I need to do? Start asking, who do I need to become? Because from your becoming flows your doing. If you become a vessel, God will pour through you. If you become a mirror, God will shine through you. If you become available, God will move through you. You don't need to be impressive, just available. You don't need to be perfect, just present. You've been fighting for a seat at the table, but maybe God is calling you to build your own table. You've been knocking on doors, but maybe God is saying you are the door. It's time to stop seeking permission and start walking in your divine position. You are not an accident. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not too much. You are not unqualified. You are ready. Not because the world says so, but because God says now. And when heaven says now, the earth has to respond. Let this be the moment you stop shrinking to fit into spaces you've already outgrown. Let this be the moment you stop apologizing for evolving. Let this be the moment you realize you are not behind. You are becoming. You don't need more time. You need more trust. You don't need more answers. You need more surrender. Because when you finally stop striving and start listening, you'll hear the quiet voice that's been speaking all along. Come home to yourself. But what does coming home really mean? It means no longer outsourcing your identity to job titles, paychecks, or opinions. It means remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It means shifting your attention from performance to presence, from doing more to being more aligned. You see, the world will always try to define you by what you produce, but God defines you by what you carry. And what you carry is sacred. You are not just a worker, you are a vessel. You are not just a body, you are a soul with breath from heaven inside you. You are not just trying to make a living, you're trying to live fully. And that's why the old system started to suffocate you. Because you were never meant to live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Maybe the reason your job stopped fulfilling you is because it was never your assignment. It was your training. Maybe the reason the doors are closing is because God's calling you to build a new one. And yes, that means entering the unknown. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also holy. You weren't created for comfort. You were created for calling. And your calling begins where your comfort ends. Let's get practical for a moment. What does it look like to follow this path? First, it looks like silence. That's right, stillness, quiet, time with God. The world will push you to decide quickly, to act fast, to rush toward the next opportunity. But divine direction rarely comes in noise, it comes in whispers. It comes when you pause, breathe, and ask God, what do you want from my life? Then it looks like courage. Because once he answers, it may shake your whole world. It may mean letting go of titles, roles, relationships, and rhythms you've depended on. It may mean saying no to what looks good in order to say yes to what's God. And then it looks like obedience. One step, then another and another. Even when you don't see the whole staircase. Remember Abraham? God told him, go to the land I will show you. Not the land I already showed you. Not the land you understand. The land I will show you once you start walking. That's what this path looks like. Obedience without outcome. Faith without evidence. Movement without map. But in that faith walk, you discover something you could never learn inside a system. God is your source. Not your job. Not your boss. Not your business. God is your provider. So let's make this real. You might be wondering, how do I know if I'm being called into something new? Here are a few signs. 1. You feel an unshakable restlessness. Even when things are going well on the outside, your spirit is unsettled. That's a divine indicator that there's more for you. 2. You can no longer ignore the inner voice. You've tried to dismiss it, suppress it, explain it away, but the call won't leave you alone. 3. Your energy for the old ways is gone. What used to excite you now exhausts you. That's a sign you've outgrown it. 4. You're drawn to purpose more than profit. You'd rather do meaningful work with less income than meaningless work with more. Your values are shifting. 5. You crave solitude. Not to isolate, but to realign. You're being pulled inward to hear more clearly. If this sounds like you, you're not crazy. You're being recalibrated. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. And when that breakthrough comes, the people around you may not understand. Some will question your choices. Some will distance themselves. Some will mock your faith. But remember this, they weren't given your vision. God didn't whisper your assignment into their ears. He whispered it into yours. So don't expect everyone to clap for a path they weren't called to walk. Your job isn't to be understood. Your job is to obey. Here's the promise. When you stop chasing what's safe and start walking in what's sacred, everything changes. Doors open, provision flows, peace increases, your true tribe finds you, and most importantly, your soul finally exhales. Not because life got easier, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. You've stopped resisting who you really are. You've surrendered to who God says you are. Now imagine this. You wake up one day, not dreading Monday, but embracing it. Not surviving till the weekend, but living each day awake. Not hiding your light to fit in, but shining boldly because you finally know you were born for this. Not to hustle endlessly, not to impress people who don't matter, but to walk with God. To co-create with heaven, to leave a legacy of light. And all of that begins with a decision. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. So ask yourself now, what would change if I actually believed I was chosen? What would I stop doing? What would I start doing? Who would I become? The answer to that question is the key to your next chapter. And God is waiting, not for your perfection, but for your permission. Because the moment you say yes, the heavens move. The moment you say, I'm ready, the anointing flows. The moment you say, use me, you step into the real reason you're here.